Hello, welcome to episode number 80 of CXO-Talk. And today is the CXO-Talk for sports fans. I'm Michael Krigsman. As always, I'm here with my deliriously friendly co-host, Vala Afshar. Mr. Afshar, how are you?
Michael, how are you? I'm doing great.
And today we have not one, but two guests. We have Fred Kirsch, who we think of as the Chief Digital Officer for the New England Patriots. And we have a guest co-host, Lauren Brousell, who is a staff writer for CIO Magazine, who is going to join the discussion today.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Michael, did I just hear you call Vala delirious?
I did. Thank you for noticing. And I couched it in terms of the deliriously thank you. This was good. So I think we're off to an excellent start,
This
Paul.
is going to be a long show.
I think this is, this show is flying by like lightning.
Fred, you are one of the most innovative people I know in not just sports, but just in general. I mean, Patriots have a long history. You have a long history of bringing technology and using technology in business. Like, for example, I believe the Patriots are the first team sport to have a website in the country, 1995. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, early 95, first sports team, I think, in the world, actually. And,
Wow.
To have one on the World Wide Web back in January of 95. Yep.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and I just want the audience to appreciate that we're talking to truly a technology innovator and someone who's focused on digital business transformation. So with that, Fred, please.
Well, I came from a publishing background, the old ink stain background, and had done publishing before I joined the Patriots back at the end of 94. And the reason I joined the Patriots was to start their weekly newspaper, Patriots Football Weekly, which we still print today. But as you all know, right around that time, the World Wide Web was really taking off. And Jonathan Kraft, who is so progressive in this field and so aggressive in this field, said, we have to be the first. So we quickly had a website, and it just became very apparent to me that it's just publishing. Whether it's digital or in print, it's all publishing. And so, from that point on, we just we're always trying to stay ahead of the field, particularly in the NFL, but also sports, with giving our fans the latest. So we were the first to have a made-for-the-internet nightly video show. Back in the day in '97, it was called Patriots Cyber Sideline. It's still around today. We call it Patriots Today, but it was the first made-for-the-internet video show nightly. And that wasn't just sports. We did pay-per-view on the internet before. I think Victoria's Secret might have beaten us to it, but we were right behind them. I worked with Mark Cuban back when he was with AudioNet, putting up our live conferences back in '97. I go back there, and since then, of course, we're in the forefront of developing apps and looking at wearables right now. And the whole idea is creating value for our fans. Putting content where they want it rather than making them come to you. Putting content wherever they want it, whenever they want it, however they want it.
That's amazing.
You talk about it's just publishing, whether it's print or it's online, and that surprises me a little bit, because aren't there such dramatic changes that have to take place when you make the jump from print to online, in terms of the technology skills, the culture of getting things done very quickly? And isn't that a key part of the transformation?
Well, I think what you're talking about is the age-old adage of know your audience. If our audience is going to mobile, we have to be on mobile, and if that means crafting our content a little bit differently for shorter time for consuming it, then we have to do that. Another thing that we've done just recently, we launched a lifestyle section for Patriots.com and for all our digital properties, because we realize that being a Patriots fan is kind of a lifestyle. It's not just Sunday watching at the stadium or on TV. a lot of people, it gets into recipes, it gets into traveling to away games, it gets into the type of fashion that you wear when you come to the stadium. So we started patriots.com/lifestyle a couple weeks ago, and now we have a home for all this, huge amount of content that we never would have published on patriots.com. And believe it or not, a lot of this stuff is beating out the straight football content on our site. So I'll give you an example. A couple days ago, our lifestyle editor, Brianna Palma, published 22 chic things to wear to a Patriots game. All day yesterday, that was at the top of our rankings for content consumed.
That's awesome.
Fred, how has the video strategy evolved since the launch of the first website and now all the way up to the emergence of mobile apps?
Well, I mean, we've had video on our site since '97, but we were way ahead of it. And everyone knows, back then you had dial-up modems and you had to film a certain way. Now, just like I said, publishing is just publishing. Now video is just video. You can watch it anywhere on any device. But I think the big thing now is the emergence of pre-roll, which, a few years ago really started taking off. And I think all the publishers and advertisers, they look at that as, where they make their big money. So there's this huge emphasis on video. I just came from a meeting with ESPN this morning, and you'll see some redesigns on their websites coming up pretty soon. And, ESPN obviously is a broadcaster, but on their digital properties, they're going to be emphasizing video big time. And that's where, it's a business after all, and that's where they feel the money can be made. And now where you can watch it anywhere, they just feel like consuming video is really the future, at least the near future.
Fred, how much do you speak with folks like ESPN and television providers and other digital content providers to kind of share ideas, and how much do they learn from you? How much do you learn from them? How does that work?
Well, I mean, we have pretty close relationships with the major broadcasters, obviously, because they're spending billions of dollars with the NFL. So they come in on like a Thursday if they have a game here with their truck, and they're actually, leveraging the infrastructure here. We have our own broadcasting department right here in the stadium. We produce all our preseason games. We produce 3 television shows a week. So, we have a vested interest in keeping up to date with all the latest, video techniques and toys and everything. We filmed something in my office just yesterday, and the guy showed up with this new camera. I said, what the heck is this? I've never seen it before, and it's 4D. We're getting ready for, the new 4D TVs that are coming out there, and even though we can't really take advantage of it right now, we're getting ready for it. So we've got some of those cameras in house so that we can start filming in 4D and getting practice with that. So when it becomes critical mass and a lot of consumers have these new TVs, we'll already have content ready for it.
What's amazing to me, Fred, is that last time I checked, the waiting list for Patriot season tickets, I don't know, is it over 10 years with tens of thousands waiting?
Yeah, it's about 40,000 people, yeah. And so if you have been on the actually, we didn't get anyone off the waiting list this year, but if you've been on the waiting list since about 2002, you might get a season ticket next year.
That is that's unbelievable. So here you are, where your people at 40,000 people are dying to get into the stadium for every home game, and yet you guys are leading, in my view, the NFL in terms of technology and fan experience. Certainly, you proved that with the rollout of the mobile app and Wi-Fi deployment throughout the stadium. I mean, what's motivating the Kraft family and yourself when, frankly, you have an entire stadium of people waiting to join the current 68,000 that come every Sunday?
Well, first of all, we know it's not going to always be that way, and the reason it is that way now is because we're winning. When the Krafts bought the team in '94, that's when they started selling out because fans said, you know what, we're happy to finally have a local owner who's not going anywhere, who really wants to bring championships, and they rewarded him with selling this place out. But since that time, even before Belichick, we've started to have a good team with Drew Bledsoe and Bill Parcells and really good players. So winning is the key to all of this. And then you talk about, well, okay, so what drives you to keep innovating? I think that when you're unencumbered with having to sell tickets every day, like some teams, you can do more things. It's like back in the Stone Age when all of a sudden they discovered fire and they could cook their food and invent the wheel and things were quicker. Well, now the more easier you make life, the more you can innovate. And the fact that we don't have to get up every morning and think about how are we going to sell tickets to sell out this stadium allows us the time and resources to innovate. I really believe that. We're very fortunate to be sold out and not have to spend every waking moment trying to figure out how to sell tickets. And not every team is like that, unfortunately.
So on the flip side of that, how do you kind of attract new fans and customize the experience for them so that they'll keep coming back and maybe join that 40,000 person waiting list for season tickets?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Like I said earlier, we just started the lifestyle section, so we're hoping to bring in a whole new group of fans that have always followed the Patriots, but not necessarily are into the X's and O's and the hardcore analysis. Well, now we have content for those people to come and visit us. So that's one way. The other thing is, Vala, you mentioned the wait list. When you become a wait list member for the Patriots, you're not simply waiting for tickets. There are benefits to becoming a wait list member. First of all, you get access to any event that comes to the stadium. So, for example, this year, One Direction had 3 concerts. So if you were a waitlist member, you got first crack at buying tickets to those concerts or any other concert that comes here before they're available to the general public. You get a discount at the pro shop. You get newsletters. Trying to think of some of the other benefits. But, so there's tangible benefits to being on the wait list. It's sort of like a club even before you actually get your tickets.
So you're really transforming the business. The pressures of the market in terms of the availability, obviously, of high-definition TVs at home have become your competition, and so all of this is about creating a set of unique experiences using digital that goes beyond just that same-day game experience.
Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't call it competition, though, because where we might, in what you're saying is compete with the home to get people here, they're still all our fans. So basically what we need to do is serve both sets and do that in a unique way so that if you're if you like the live experience, make that live experience as good as it can be so that it's distinct from the home. I've said it before, and I might have said it on CXO-Talk before, that cost, comfort, and convenience. The stadium can't compete with that. There's just no way. You can't compete with a $700 50-inch screen and a couch in the bathroom 5 steps away and your fridge 2 steps away. The stadium can't compete with that. But what the home can't compete with is the energy and the excitement and the entertainment and the camaraderie that you get from being with 70,000 people. So we have to make that experience as unique as we can, not really compete with the home, but make it separate but equally as exciting. And so, I pay as much attention to the people at home. Second screen is big for me. While we can't control the CBS or ABC broadcast, we can control the second screen. So giving people content that they can use while they're watching the game is important to me as well.
You talked a little bit about wearable technology and new technology, perhaps to improve the experience. When Zuckerberg purchased Oculus Rift, he talked about fans sitting at courtside being able to use augmented reality and have that courtside experience. And we were working with a company, Crowd Optics, and we had a referee at a rugby match wear Google Glass and then stream that experience to television. But even more importantly, you can stream potentially glass to glass. So any fans in the stadium wearing glass could have the perspective of the referee on the field. Do you see at some point leveraging video and some of these new technologies, augmented reality or wearable technology, to really enhance the fan experience where they feel like they're on the field?
Yeah, the Oculus Rift stuff is so exciting, but from a team standpoint, it's incredibly expensive. Not the device, but having those cameras that are specifically set up to support the the 3D immersion experience. That's going to be really tough to do in a venue by venue situation. And just for example, I think every coach would agree in the NFL, boy, they should have goal line technology so that they have a camera on the goal line at every stadium. But even that is hard because every stadium is different. Where do you place the cameras, the cost of the cameras? So that's been talked about for almost a decade now, and it still hasn't happened. I think the Oculus Rift thing is great in theory, but I think that's a long way from becoming part of the TV viewing experience. I mean, the in-stadium view experience. I think what you might have is using Oculus Rift to add to maybe the home viewing experience, where all of a sudden you throw this on, you can still see the game, but like you said, you're getting all this additional information without even having to use your hands. I think that's cool. But like you said, there's other wearable technologies. Apple Watch is going to come out next year, and I can see a lot of developers doing quick little apps for that, whether it's checking stats really quickly, or your Twitter feed during the game, or connecting with others, and maybe even a little video on the watch. I can see that happening. Google Glass, probably, we've looked at Google Glass. There's some hurdles there, because of battery life, and in our case being outdoors with Google Glass, it really doesn't do that well outdoors. But eventually something like Google Glass, if not Google Glass itself, will become part of the in-stadium viewing experience. Oculus Rift, though, is a whole different ballgame. It has a hell of a lot more potential, but it's going to be a lot harder to implement in a stadium.
Sure.
When looking at all these new technologies and starting to adopt some of them one by one, how does that change the Patriots as a company in terms of new technology infrastructure or staffing or investments that you have to make?
So basically, are you asking how do we decide what to do over another thing? Is
yeah,
that...
and, has that caused you to bring in more people with different expertise?
Oh, okay. We've always had a philosophy here of vendor soup. So sometimes it's better to buy than build. So we tap a lot of experts in the field, and we have them under NDA. So whenever we need help, we know where to go. But we have staffed a little bit differently. I mean, I think we certainly have more people in our digital department than we ever had. And then lately, the NFL, you've probably heard about it, launched a new initiative called NFL Now, which is an app that you can download to Xbox, iPhone, Android, Roku, and you can watch all this really, really great NFL video anywhere, and you can personalize it and all that. But for us, there was a mandate for each team to now create content for NFL Now. And so each team has to come out with, I think, 40 distinct different pieces of content per week for NFL Now. And it's caused a lot of teams to have to staff up because of it, so including us. So, yeah, I mean, behind all this technology, it always comes down to people.
But do you have like data scientists or mobile app developers or social and community talent on your staff or part of the Patriots in-house organization?
Yeah, we have a social media manager. Her name is Christy Berkery. That's obviously a new position since, I forget, 2008, I think, is when we actually had someone assigned to that. But the dirty little secret in the NFL and really all sports leagues is that when you get down to the team level, it's not this huge, staff of people making all this happen. They're very, thinly staffed, and everyone's wearing many hats, and so it's not as glamorous on the inside as it might look on the outside. It's teams don't have the luxury to just do anything anytime they want, and there's no one sitting around waiting for an assignment. Everyone is tapped, and their day is full.
Now you've been developing apps as well. So so you're an app developer.
Well, we architect the apps, but we have outside developers that develop our apps. We use two different companies mainly for our two different apps. We have what I call our everyday app, our official Patriots app, or 365-day app, and then we have an app specifically for people coming to the stadium for games. And I like to keep them separate because I hate having an app where only certain people can use part of the app. So our game day app is just for people coming to the app, and it's completely separate from our 365-day app. And those are done by outside developers, but we help blueprint it. It's all our ideas and what we want in it, and then they make it really look cool.
So now you're in the second year of the Game Day Live app. So what are some of the lessons learned from last year, and how is it going this year?
Well, to be honest with you, it's our fourth year. Before 2012, we had it in our club. So we've had Game Day Live, our app, in the club since 2010. And so if you want to call it piloting or soft launching it, we had it for use with just club members with our Wi-Fi in the club since 2010. In 2012, we put Wi-Fi with Extreme Networks throughout all of Gillette Stadium, made it free for all the fans. And that's when we took the same app, Game Day Live, but then we made it available to all our fans in the stadium. So, some of the lessons learned with the app, the first lesson we learned is that we have fans of varying degrees of technical knowledge. So quickly we realized, we need to have support people in the stadium on game day. So with Extreme Networks, we have what we call now Wi-Fi coaches, and we've had them since 2012. And these are people who roam the stadium on game day. They have very visible clothing that say Wi-Fi coach on it, and they interact with fans who are on their phones, need help, having trouble connecting to Wi-Fi, don't really know the ins and outs of the app itself, and so they're helping them. And the other thing besides helping the fans is they give me feedback after every game. So they'll let me know, oh, there was someone in 112 who was trouble, with the Wi-Fi, or this person wasn't able to, use the app sufficiently, or the bathroom wait time wasn't working in one of the bathrooms. So I get all that feedback right after the game, and it's really invaluable to me. We can act on that week and correct it for the next game.
Fred, you're investing a lot of money in this kind of digital infrastructure, which includes the Wi-Fi throughout the stadium and the apps and so forth. What's the return on this investment, and how do you measure it? And what are the crafts, and along the same lines, what are the craft's expectations of you in terms of demonstrating the value of all this digital infrastructure?
Well, I'll go back to what I said when we first started this conversation. Jonathan Kraft is aggressive and ambitious and gets it. He understands technology, and he understood before 2012 that Wi-Fi is going to be a cost of doing business at Gillette Stadium. And it was just a matter of finding the right partner to put it in, and we did that with Extreme Networks. But like I said, it's a cost of doing business. Think of how connected people are with their phones these days and how much it's part of their lives. Forget about leveraging the technology for one moment, but just think about yourself. If you go into an event that you have spent all this money to go to, it's really important, it's really special, you can't wait to be there, you go to upload your first photo that you take and you can't connect, whether it's because the Wi-Fi stinks, or we don't have Wi-Fi, or the DAS system isn't robust enough to handle. Sure, it's not the end of the world, but it takes away a little bit from the event that you just attended. And then have that happen repeatedly throughout the event, it starts to add up, and it starts to become a negative. So forget about leveraging Wi-Fi. Just having Wi-Fi, I think, is a cost of doing business because connectivity is expected by the fan. Vala, you know the stats because you tweet about 1 million times a day on the subject, but you know how many people have smartphones compared to toothbrushes in the world, and there's more smartphones than toothbrushes in the world. I know that because I follow you on Twitter. So, it starts with that. It starts with having that foundation to allow people to connect and use their phone. And then now once you have a robust platform, now you can start to build on it, Lauren, like you mentioned with the Game Day Live app. So I wouldn't put that app out unless I had Wi-Fi, because it would be a bad experience for people trying to access video. But with the Wi-Fi, I feel comfortable offering them NFL Red Zone and live replays and highlights of the game right after it happened and checking stats, because I know they'll be able to connect. And so then beyond that, we can do game day giveaways where if you're on the Wi-Fi network and you opt in, you can win a prize right there at the game, and in the third quarter we can deliver something to you just as a thank you for being at the game. So we can do all kinds of things like that. In-seat ordering for food, and it's endless. But we're going to learn as we go and figure out how to leverage this. And as people get more comfortable, doing these types of digital things during games, we'll start to adapt to their needs and their wants.
Absolutely.
So with the addition of the Wi-Fi and the mobile apps now, you're probably pulling in more customer data than ever before. So what are some insights that you've gotten from that so far?
Well, with the Wi-Fi, we actually don't. Like in a hotel, for example, when you connect to their Wi-Fi, it asks for your name and your room number, and there's sort of this captive portal that you have to go through first. We don't do that. We made a business decision to just allow people to come, connect, and do what they want. So we don't actually capture a lot of, we don't capture any information when they come and use our Wi-Fi. But when I talked about the game day giveaways, at that point, we'll start capturing, seat row, section number, email address, and cell phone number, because we have to contact them to give them their prize. But like you said, okay, now that stuff will all go into our CRM. So there is a big frontier there for getting all of that information. But right now, we're still at about, I'd say maybe less than a third of the people in the stadium using the Wi-Fi. So we're letting people get their feet wet, and we'll start to build on it as we go along.
So you say it was a business decision not to force people to log in. What are some of the other business decisions that come to mind as you have been undertaking this digital transformation?
You mean specifically Wi-Fi, or just everything?
No, just in any aspect. I mean, you've been embracing all of this digital technology, and I'm sure that there are trade-offs that you have to make along the way. And
sure.
Investment decisions that you're making, saying we're going to choose to invest and innovate here, but not there. For example.
Without naming certain brands, but there's basically two platforms that people are on in mobile. We know what they are, and so we build toward that. There's a couple others out there that would love us to do it, but right now there's just not enough people on those platforms, in mobile to really, make it worth our while. And frankly, we don't really hear from fans saying, "Oh, how come you don't have it for my phone?" So that's, that would be an example of a business decision that we've made to build for iOS and for Android exclusively. Could that change? Absolutely. We're open to anything, but like you said, it's, at some point there has to be a return on investment just in terms of usage. And if there isn't going to be that, then we make that decision not to build on that platform at this point.
So Fred, we've had over the last few months some of the top venture capital experts from Boston to Silicon Valley come on the show and talk about mobile, social, cloud, wearables, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. And it's fascinating to see how these VCs are investing in technology. And I know as part of your responsibility with the Kraft family, you're asked to assess in terms of technology investment, not just for the Patriots, but for the entire Kraft portfolio. So I know in the past when we spoke, you work with startups, you work with colleges, universities like MIT and others. Can you share a little bit of insight in terms of, what do you look for when you're assessing a young company or a startup before you ask them to become a partner and before you invest in their solution?
Well, when I'm looking at it for the crafts, it has to be something somewhat in their line of interest, something that they get. It's really hard to say, oh, you should invest in this if you have no really interest in that subject matter. So it starts with that, and then just like any other person vetting something, you want to look at what the competition is, what problem are they solving, and if they're not solving a problem, is this technology so cool that it's going to create a need? And that's really hard to do. The more patents you have, obviously, or patent pendings, that's really important too, because it's so easy to just for one of the big companies to just come in and blow away a startup. So you have to have some protection, some intellectual property protection in place. So we always look for that. And then when I look at a business plan, if they're talking about their exit strategy too soon, then that draws a red flag. Then they're really not thinking about, they're thinking about being bought too soon before they actually think about getting revenue. Now, you'll throw Twitter in my face, obviously, but I mean that was such a disruptor that it was those only come around, I don't know, maybe 3 times in every 10 years. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Fred, so these comments that you were just making, does that apply to technology that you're considering adopting and using, or technology where you're looking to make an investment?
That really applies more to an investment, to stuff that we're using. I always put myself in the position of the fan. If I was a fan, which I am, would I find this cool? Would I use it? Or would I use it once and then say it's cool but not use it again? So I look for sustainability, ease of use. Fans aren't really looking to make their lives more complicated with technology. They're looking for it to enhance what they're already doing and make it easy to use. So UI is really important. UX is really important. Did the company really spend the time vetting all the UI and UX and putting it in forums and having people touch it, because I don't want to have to spend time, going over that with them and really doing their job for them. So so when it comes to stuff that the Patriots are actually going to use, we're looking for really bulletproof stuff that's been tested and is ready to hit the market in whether it's our website or our app or whatever. It's just bulletproof.
How much of that assessment is the team versus the technology? Can you think of a scenario where you maybe didn't have the solid business plan up front, but the team and the members gave you enough confidence to partner with them, and over time they were able to deliver to your needs?
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that everything we've done has succeeded. There's a lot of things that I've tried over the last 20 years that have died on the vine, whether it's because the company that we were working with ran out of money and we weren't willing to fund them, or it just didn't get the fan adoption that we thought it would. Sure. It just wasn't. I just made a mistake, frankly. Right. But through all this trial and error, I think I've become pretty keen on figuring out, yeah, this is going to work and this won't work. So I find that I make less mistakes now than I used to. But I'm also a lot more cynical than I am now than I used to be, because I've seen all this stuff. And I'll give you an example. Every company right now, social's huge. Everybody, if they weren't on social platforms 3 years ago, everybody's on it now. And so now it's, all right, how do I leverage this? I have all these accounts. How do I get data out of it? How do I make use of that data? So there's all these companies now that really all they're doing is overlaying on the stats that, for example, Facebook or Twitter already provide, and then put it in really pretty packages. And I see right through that. So I think you're better off, instead of spending tens of thousands with these companies every year, just hiring one person. Sorry about that. Hold on. Let me. Just hiring one person who can manipulate all this data and put it in a nice executive type dashboard for you, and have that person in house, because that's all a lot of these companies are doing, is just using information that's already out there. They're not really giving you something that doesn't exist. So I'm very wary about all that kind of stuff, and I feel that through the 20 years I've developed a pretty keen eye for that.
And the crafts have given you, it seems, a very strong mandate to innovate the fan experience using technology, and presumably the goal is to flow down to continued support from your fans.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about the crafts is they never say no to a good idea. If you have a good idea and you can back it up and it makes sense, more often than not, they'll say, "All right, run. Let's go do it." So now I'm going to get all these emails from startups, I'm sure. But no, but it starts with them, because they're so open to new ideas and so progressive that we're able to do all this stuff, and I've been able to try and succeed and fail with so many things over the years.
So there's this new buzzword out and about called digital enterprise, and it's basically a company that has all digital customer interactions, processes, all digital people's jobs that are all digital, and information that's easy to access and fast. So how close are the Patriots to that fully digital enterprise?
Well, we'll be, tickets are a big thing. We have a lot of season ticket holders, as we talked about. So, we'll be giving our fans more and more tools, working with Ticketmaster, our partner, to be able to allow people to do paperless ticketing, to be able to transfer tickets right up to before the game, all digitally, using their phone instead of the ticket to get into the gate. So that's one example of, using the enterprise. Internally, we use a product called Zendesk for all our customer service across all our departments, and it really is a good way for us to, not just know what fans are saying, but able to respond, keep track of all our responses to the fans until completion, to make sure that it's not over until the customer says it's over. And then you can close it out. It's not when you think it's over. So that's a product that helps us do that. I would, in our business though, I don't think you can ever go completely digital. I think you always have to have that interpersonal connection. Especially when you get to the higher levels of our customers. Our season ticket holders, our club members, our suite members. They expect humans. And they haven't come to the point yet where they want to go digital completely, so we can't.
We have a question from Twitter from Doug Hyde, who asks, do you have a fan think tank for your apps? Sounds like he wants to get involved in some way.
Yeah, we actually do. Jess Gelman, who, if you're a big fan of digital and analytics and big data, she started the MIT Sloan Analytics Conference in Boston, and she's our head of biz dev and customer service, and she holds on the off season fan focus sessions all over on all different subjects, whether it's our content or coming to the game or our retail. So we're so you could call those easily think tanks, where we have people actually come into the stadium and we have focus groups. We also have emails that go out after every game. We'll pick about 300 fans throughout the stadium to survey them on their experience, ask them pointed questions to get really good responses, and we build off that too. So we're constantly using that think tank mindset to make us better.
What's the coolest idea that you've heard from fans in terms of technology or business?
What's the coolest thing I've heard from fans in terms of technology or business?
And if it's a first reveal on our show, we wouldn't mind.
Yeah, geez, I don't know.
Exactly.
The coolest thing I've heard from a fan. Geez, Lauren, I'd have to think about that. Not that they don't give us, but I've heard, we've heard so many suggestions over the years.
Was the food service from a mobile app or restroom waiting lines? Did any of that come from fans, or just kind of obvious enhancements that would help bolster the fan experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one. The restroom wait times definitely comes from feedback from fans, not necessarily asking for a digital feature for that, but saying, hey, you need to do something to tell people where the line, the long lines are as opposed to the short lines. So taking that feedback and then using digital to solve a problem, or at least help contribute to solving the problem. So the genesis of it, yes, that would come from fans, and then us taking that feedback and applying digital to it. So you could say that, that's one example.
Fred, when can I come to a game where you guys are using gamification principles so that perhaps I can bid for a touchdown ball that Tom Brady throws, and if I'm the fortunate highest bidder, which is unlikely, in a 70,000 environment, but who knows, and then I can maybe win that ball and go at a concession stand and pick it up at the end of the game?
Absolutely. I mean, I've talked about that for a few years now. And that'll come with as more and more people are comfortable interacting with their phones during games. We'll offer that where, like you said, whether it's a random drawing or an actual live auction, and you win something that was just used in the game, and before you leave the stadium, you're walking out with it.
That's awesome.
So Fred, we have just a few minutes left, and so right now there's just the three of us, and
what happened to Vala?
Right. Sorry, I meant the four. It's this counting problem that I've had since a young age. So there's just the four of us, and so what kind of secret things and projects do you have working on that you'd like to confidentially just share with us at this moment?
Us and Twitter.
Us and oh yeah, that's right. I forgot all those people listening on Twitter.
Right.
CIO magazine subscribers.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned.
That's right. Lauren is a staff reporter for CIO magazine, so but pretend it's just the four of us.
Sure. I mentioned the Ticketmaster partnership that we're going to be doing, giving fans more features. That should be coming hopefully in early November or to mid-November. We'll be adding that to our Game Day Live app. We'll be making that live. We'll be expanding our in-seat ordering to the 300 level, so you can sit in your seat, order food. We'll ping you when your food's ready, and then you go to an express line. So we'll be expanding that. So that's in the short term. In the long term, Vala, like you said, you mentioned wearables. We'll definitely be looking at that. I can see us for 2015 having some type of app on Apple Watch. At the minimum, checking stats, play-by-play on the game. So we'll definitely be doing that. We were almost ready with an app for Google Glass, but like I said, I think Glass has some work to do. So we sort of put that on the back burner. But when they're ready, we're ready with that. So that's really no secret. There are some other things that we're looking at that I honestly can't talk about because I'm under NDA. But like I said, we're always looking to make that enhancing the value of the fan experience.
So everybody's been talking about Levi's Stadium as that stadium of the future. So what do the Patriots think of that?
I love it. I think the advantage of being built now as opposed to 14 years ago is that you have a little better view of what you're going to need technology-wise. But I think we need more of that. So whether it's refurbing old stadiums or building new ones, I think we all need to be looking at all the teams and all the sporting leagues need to be looking at just how do we make things better for the fans at the games, and not just at the games, but when they're watching on TV as well. Just how do we serve our fans better and create more value every year?
So Fred, I think the Pats are 3.5-point favorites up or down. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, now comes the part where, you know.
No. We'll leave that for another show. No.
That's okay. That's part of my job too, is talking about the Patriots from a football standpoint. So I'm predicting. I know the Patriots have a little trouble with the offensive line at the moment, but I'm predicting a 31-14 win in Kansas City Monday night.
Wow.
All right.
Yep. 31-14.
Awesome. I'm with you. I love
All right.
that. All right, you heard it here first, folks.
So we'll be in touch on a Tuesday morning, and we'll see how you did.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's Vala. We have learned a lot about the fan experience today.
Fastest 45 minutes, and Lauren, you're awesome. God, it's so good to have another co-host with us. I'm not looking.
I'm gonna have to think about.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. All right, you have been watching show number 80 of CXO-Talk. I'm Michael Krigsman. My co-host, Vala Afshar. How about like a high five this time?
All right, let's do a high five.
That no one can see because there's no high five camera.
Yeah.
And today we've been talking with Fred Kirsch, who really plays the role of the Chief Digital Officer at the New England Patriots, and we're thrilled that our guest co-host, Lauren Brousell, who's a staff reporter at CIO Magazine, has taken the time to join us today as well. And she's a sports nut as well. Ain't that true?
That's totally true.
Thanks for having me.
Fred, thank you so
Fred.
much, and we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.